Hello, everyone. Welcome this month to our June Talk Music Webinar with Justin Conway. We are so excited that everyone is here. We're very excited that Brother Justin is here with us, and I think we're going to learn a ton tonight. This is a great topic and one that we all can learn from, including myself. We're always using transitions in our services, and I think he brought this topic up, and I said, man, I love that. I think that's great. So I'm looking forward to hearing myself tonight what he has to share with us. Brother Justin has had a lot of experiences. I love his background and just he's been in the trenches doing this a while, and I love that because he knows where we're at, and he is actually worship pastor in Woodlawn in Columbia, Mississippi, and doing a great job. Been there a while, which is really cool, and so I can't wait to hear from him. Those of you that are new to the webinar, I see different ones coming in now. We will let Brother Justin go for a while. He will talk, give some examples tonight. He's going to show some things on keyboard, just transition songs. I think that's going to be great for us. You'll be thinking of questions. I know you'll have some, but go ahead and type them in. I'll see them, and I'm going to go away here in just a minute and let him take over. But I'll see your questions, and I'll chat with you back and forth, and we'll get you on the line with him where you can ask your questions. He can kind of. In fact, Brother Justin, you said that I think tonight we could even maybe take some suggestions, right?
You're right.
From the crowd. So we'll just let you guys actually, if you have some songs, say, hey, what about transitioning from this to this? We want to hear that as well tonight. So this is going to be really cool. But without any further ado, I'm going to get out of the way. And Brother Justin, go ahead and take it.
Thank you, sir. And it's great to be with everybody. This is truly an honor. And I've looked forward to this night because this is subject that I'm very passionate about, and we're very passionate about here at Woodlawn. This is a journey that we have been on and continue to be on when it comes to transitions. A few years ago, sort of give you a background of how this all started for us, I attended a conference in which there was these incredible singers and musicians and worship leaders, and they were all incredible, and probably if I mentioned some of their names, you'd know who they were. But the thing I left the conference with is the transitions, the atmosphere that these transitions brought to just the songs and the worship part of the service. And so I came back and shared this with my pastor, who allowed me to share this with our team here at Woodlawn, and it's just been really incredible. It has been our focus. It's been our intent every service, basically, after the songs are selected and prayed over, then one of the things that we try to do at that point is, are there transitions that we can use to connect song 1 to song 2 to song 3 or whatever the case might be. And by no means do we use transitions between every song or in every service, but they are they are at the forefront of what we're trying to do. In fact, this past Sunday I was out of town. It was a really cool moment because I get a text from Lindsay Short, who's covering for me this past weekend, and she's asking me. They were coming out of well, I forget the song they were coming out of, and the song they were going into, and so she was wanting to know, what would you do transitionally to make this work? And so I thought, how cool is that even when I'm not there, the team is still thinking transitionally. So let's talk a little bit about transitionally, why we do it, and maybe some ways to get you started. First of all, everything begins with prayer and preparation. And I'll be honest with you, when it comes to transitions and being prepared, this is something that can't be done on Saturday evenings. Meaning this, your songs need to already be selected. This needs to be something that is towards the beginning of the week. When your songs are selected, then you start thinking, okay, is there a way we can bridge these songs together? So just make note of that. If you tend to wait to the last minute to choose songs, then chances are you won't have time to work out transitions. So with all that being said, be prepared and then look at your transitions. Begin with a goal in mind. Your set list should trump your transitions. And what I mean by that is, don't choose songs because of transitions. Choose your songs that you feel like God wants you to sing in that service or the coming up service. And then look at and see, okay, can we transition some songs together? Understand the power of relationship and trust with your pastor and your team. And this is a big one, because you want to make sure that they're on board with what you're doing and that your team is on board and everybody has the same. Basically, it's like a roadmap. You're explaining, this is how we're going to begin our worship set, and this is where we're headed, and this is the roadmap we're getting from beginning to the end. And so you want to make sure that everybody is on board with you. And then another thing that I would add is know and understand your audience when it's coming to all of this. Just some things when it comes to transitions. To me, they make or break a lot of worship sets. You say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, for instance, if you're going from song 1 into song 2, and in the middle of those songs, your band is having to switch out charts, and your singers are having to grab a bottle of water and drink. Those are awkward transitions. Those are those transitions that make our congregations and our church feel uncomfortable, because we just come out of this worship song, and then the band is, they're reaching for their next song, and they're trying to put it in place, or whatever the case may be. And so what we want to do is eliminate all of that. And so they make or break. You rehearse, okay, so when I say, okay, I'm going to say this. You rehearse not only the songs, but the transitions from one to another. This is crucial, especially if you have a midweek rehearsal. Then sure, you're going to rehearse your songs probably, especially if you're learning new songs, you're going to rehearse those songs during the week. But your pre-service rehearsal, at least here for Woodlawn, the way it works for us is our midweek rehearsal, we rehearse the songs. Sometimes we rehearse transitions, but typically it's just the songs. Then on Sunday mornings is when we put our transitions together. There are Sundays in which we don't even rehearse the songs in their entirety. We will basically rehearse how we're getting out of song A into song B, and it's all about transitions. And let me add to this, and I know this is not for everyone, and that's cool, but if your church is into using lights as just another instrument in your worship set, then they also need to know what's going on, and they also need to be at your rehearsals when these transitions are taking place, because if you're doing this high energy song and your light set is some if it's a bright orange or yellow or red, and you're going to bring the tempo down, and you want your color set to go from whatever was bright and vibrant to now like a blue or solemn color, then your lights need to go with you. They're to me, my lighting guy is an extension of what's happening on the platform. So if my lead guitar player, if I need to let him know what's going on, I need to let my lighting guy also know what's going on, because again, to me, he's just another musician. If that's just another instrument that we're using, and I know that's not for everybody, but if you're into using lights, then that's something to consider. Have everybody on the same page. Look at your key changes when you're going from songs, from like one song into another. And I'll be honest, this is where theory is going to come into play. How well do you know theory? But is there some type of kinship between the two keys if they're different? And if they are different, what is that kinship? What are some chords, some common chords that will get you out of that first key into the second key? Tempo changes. Now this is a big one, because it's easier to transition, excuse me, from a slow song into another slow song. But it's a little more challenging when you're going from an upbeat song to a slow song, or vice versa. The best thing or the thing that I look at always is, what is the eighth note doing? If the eighth note, I don't care if it's 6/8 to 4/4. If the eighth note is basically the same, or I can manipulate the tempo of one or both songs and keep that eighth note the same, then I'm good to go. And so you just sort of have to look at the tempos and know what to do there. But this is a big one. Don't be afraid to experiment, and that's the main thing, because I'll tell you this, man, we'll get in there and we'll try some really, I guess what I would consider some really creative things that do not work, and sometimes we'll just get in there and try something very simple. The bottom line is experiment. Find what works for you and your team. And if nothing works, hey, it's okay. Like I said, we don't use transitions between every song that we do, but we definitely are intentional about trying to make them work. Let's see here. So let's talk a little bit about if you're changing keys, and you're not sure about, like, having your whole band do the transition with you. One of the things that, and this is where I'm going to start demonstrating some things, so hopefully you can hear and watch me here. So I'm going to adjust this a little bit. One of the things you can do is, let's say you're coming out of a song, whether it's slow or fast, it doesn't matter, and you're going into another song. You can have your keyboard player, or if you have an aux keyboard player or support keyboard player, have them do this, where they're just holding like a string bed or a pad sound. Let's say we're coming out of We Praise Your Name. Okay, so here's a good one. Let's say we've just done We Praise Your Name, and we're going into Victor's Crown. Well, there's two different ways you can transition. You can go and then don't worry about doing the run at the end. Just hold the B flat, and then that'll get you into the. But let's say you finish out We Praise Your Name and you do the run and all of that. Then this is where you can have your support keyboard player just like hold a C, because you're going from a song in the key of C to another song in the key of C. And then you can start your loop or your click track, whatever you're using, and then that will get you into Victor's Crown. So that's a couple of different scenarios on how to get from like We Praise Your Name into Victor's Crown. Again, one using coming out, straight, holding that B flat, and then into the intro of Victor's Crown. And then, of course, the other one using just a pad sound or like a string bed. All right, let's hit some examples here of some transitions that we have used through the years. Now, these first few transitions that I'm going to show you, we're talking the same key, so we don't have to worry about key changes, and the time signature is the same, and the eighth notes basically are manipulated so that they can be the same. So let's say we were going to do More Than Amazing into Holy Spirit. So one of the things that we could do is finish out More Than Amazing with that little piano riff. There's nothing worth more. So there's really no, we're not stopping More Than Amazing to restart Holy Spirit. We're going to come right out of More Than Amazing, use the outro basically as our intro for Holy Spirit. But once we get into Holy Spirit, we're there. So that's one example of how we're going to do that. Another example that we've done in the past, we did this during a worship series. We pulled out the old song of Heart of Worship. I'm coming back to the heart of worship. It's all about you. And we would end like out of that, say that tag or that bridge at the end. It's all about you. It's all about you. And go into Awesome, same key. Okay, again, that's two examples where the keys are the same. The eighth notes basically, if they're not exactly the same, they could be, you know, the tempo of the songs can be manipulated to work for both songs. Something that I did just recently, I took a Sunday where I did some older songs. Basically, just felt like doing some older songs one Sunday, and the theme was about heaven. And so what I did is, again, even though I was doing some songs from the past, I still didn't want there to be any gaps if I could help it. So we took the old song, I've Never Been This Homesick Before, and then went into, I forget who, I don't know if it was Teddy Huffman or who did it, but the song, My Brand New Home, Wait Do You See My Brand New Home. And so we did both of these in the key of D. And I've never been this homesick before. The chorus says, oh, I've never been this homesick before. Where do you see my brand new home? And so that's how we were able to basically transition from I've never been this homesick before straight into, I've never been this homesick into my brand new home. Again, again, I may have had to manipulate the tempo of one, but it still worked for both songs. The keys were the same, so it was easy for us just to go. And sometimes when you transition, and I might just stop and say this, you may omit an outro of one song for the intro of another, or vice versa. Like when I was saying about More Than Amazing, I finished More Than Amazing's outro, but that served as my intro. So what I mean by that is, I'm not saying that we're going to do the outro of song A and the intro of song B. Probably one is going to be omitted, so that there's just this flow. Here's an example of the song Breakthrough. Not the Eddie James Breakthrough, but the other song. It goes, need you to break through, tear down the walls, let everything fall. I wanna praise you, nothing between you and me. The outro goes, need you to break through. And then into the bridge, or into the little interlude of moving forward. Now we do breakthrough in A and moving forward in A. And this is another great example of I don't choose to do breakthrough and moving forward because of that transition. It just so happened that in that particular Sunday, the message and everything about that day was getting past your past, breaking from that. And so the songs were selected, Breakthrough was selected and Moving Forward was selected. It was just cool for us to be able to come out of Breakthrough, which was in A, into that interlude of Moving Forward. And it's also really, it's really neat, I'll say it like this, to watch our church respond when you come out of a song and you're segueing into another song, and they recognize that melody line. It's like they go, okay, all right, I know where they're headed. This is going to be good. And it's really cool to get those texts, after service, during service, that says, man, that was really cool about, where you were headed with that. And so, and I don't mind them knowing where I'm headed either. Something else that another one that we have done. Now this one, the example for this is where the key has changed just a little bit. I know everybody's familiar with How He Loves. He loves us, oh how He loves us. Well, we do that one in the key of G flat. So this was a service in which I don't know if it was I don't know if we had an evangelist or what it was, but the two songs that were "Oh Come to the Altar" into "How He Loves," and so we came out of it. Oh, come to the altar, and we're in the key of B for "Oh Come to the Altar." Father's arms are open wide, forgiveness is bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. The precious blood of Jesus Christ. And then we went straight to How He Loves. Sorry. Now the time signature, your eighth notes, they all matched up, so we were able to do it like that. But there was no like really unique key change. Okay, we just went straight out of "Oh Come to the Altar" into "How He Loves," and so that's a great example of sometimes you don't have to overthink this. It could be right there in front of you. Just a direct change can work well. We do a little course here. Okay, so here's another example of when I choose to basically omit an intro. If I'm coming out of song A into song B and I'm just wanting to flow. And some of you will probably be familiar with the term mashup. Basically, this is a form of a mashup. We do a song here that Lindsay Short wrote that says, it's too high for me, but it's in D. In your presence, there is freedom. Chains are loose, lives are healed. Peace is real. I don't know all the words. I'm stressed out. And so the song is talking about in your presence, and I'll go into "There's like you, Lord, in all the earth." And so that's really nice because in your presence is basically like this chorus and bridge, and it's a great song because it's where most of our people are at. It's saying everything that they're needing to hear, and then we don't waste any time. We go from that in your presence moment, and we just take your presence as heaven and go straight into it. So again, just another example of your transitions. Again, they don't have to be that thought out. It could be something direct. But now here's one that would have to be thought out a little bit. So this is one that we did not long ago. We were having a tent revival. Yes, you heard me correct, a tent revival. And so we wanted to do some songs that we felt that our community would know. And so I chose to do How Great Is Our God. And we do, of course, that we do it in the key of C. And then we were going to end the set with Covenant Worships Isn't the Name, which is in the key of E flat. So we're going from C to E flat. So keep that in mind, C to E flat. So there's not a lot of a kinship there between C and E flat. Now, if we were doing C minor to E flat, yes, but C to E flat, not a lot. So what we chose to do was, great is our God, sing with me. How great is our God. So I'm playing an A minor to F. How great. So I'm playing in G, and instead of going back to C, I choose to stay on the 4, the F, and just ride that F for a minute. B flat over D, and that gets B flat over D into E flat, and that gets me into my Is It the Name. So again, I went C, I'm in the key of C, and instead of ending How Great Is Our God on that C, we actually just, again, rode the 4 or the F. And then B flat over D into E flat. Okay? And that got me from C to E flat. Same tempo. We didn't have to stop the loop, you know. And that's another thing I should point out as well. If you're the MD, or even if you're not the MD, you know, this is something when you're merging songs together, you want to make sure you're either looping your loops or that they are long enough for everything you're doing. Okay, if you're using Ableton, you'll have to do some editing in that. You know, if you're using stems and clicks and all of that. But so that's that. All right. Again, this is an example that we did. Take Me There. Everybody knows Take Me There. I want to know. All right, we do it in G flat. Feels like heaven touches earth and I'm all in between. I want to know what it feels, the glory of the Lord to fall on me. So I'm writing a C flat. The next song I'm going to is Heaven on Earth. So because we're in the key of G flat, then G flat when we go to and we're doing Heaven on Earth in the key of B, so G flat's my 5. So we just start pushing and basically pushing that 5. 1, 2, 3. And you know, when we did, and I do remember this, when we went into Heaven on Earth, I didn't do the verses. I mean, we went straight into there is a lightning and thunder. Because probably like at your church, if you do Take Me There, at that, you know, when you get done with Take Me There, people are there, you know, so there's not many more places you can take them. And so I wanted to at least give them another level. I hate that phrase because I always wonder what another level is. But anyway, I wanted to give them another level to go to. And so I felt like the bridge of Heaven on Earth would be great for that. And so just knowing that if I'm in G flat and I've got to get into the key of B and we're on the chord G flat, then I'm good to go. That's my 5. I can start from there, do the little walk up, and that'll transition me into Heaven on Earth. This is okay, so this next example, I don't know how many of you are familiar or have done William McDowell's new song, or it's off his latest project, In Your Presence. We just held hosted a conference here at our church in which we did this song. But I know your church is not like Woodlawn. I know it's the only one like it, but you know, when we do new songs here, they typically, I'm just going to use the word, analyze the songs the first time. You know, they have to take the lyrics in, and they have to get it. And I get that. I understand, you know, because as singers and musicians, we've been practicing these songs, you know, for weeks, and so we're way ahead of the congregation when it comes to knowing the songs or knowing where their songs are going, you know. And so this was a song in which I decided, you know, I better bring a song that we know into the mix. And so if you're familiar with the song In Your Presence, it is in 4/4, but it's in that 4/4 where the kick is on 1 and the snare is on 3. So it's like 1, 2. Well, let me just play it. So it's like the bridge goes, meet every need unspoken, heal every broken heart, lift every burden in your presence, Jesus. Whatever the word, I don't know the words. Na, 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 na. Let there be free in your presence, Jesus. And it's got this little music interlude that it does. In fact, the vocals, they sing this unison O. Oh, 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 they do one more pass of that, and they end on that. Oh, well, I thought, well, since we're already singing an O, why don't we just go into Oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus. And this is really more of an example of, again, sort of a mashup, but still, it's a way to think outside of the box, especially if you're in charge of choosing your songs, meaning that, you know, look at your whole set. Is there an older song maybe you should go into that would appeal to the older congregation? If you're doing a new song like, you know, In Your Presence is for us, is there an older song that the church knows that you can bring in? And then how are you going to make that work transitionally? I've got a couple of others. I'm not going to go through. Well, let me just, I'm not going to demonstrate this. I'll just talk you through it. One of the sets that we do occasionally is Take Me There into Spirit Breakout. And it doesn't, sometimes we do the whole set in G flat, sometimes we do it in G. I don't know why that's the case, but it is. But what I want to point out is the time signature. 6/8, Take Me There, it's more considered 6/8, where Spirit Breakout's more 4/4. But the reason why that works is, again, I mentioned it earlier, your eighth notes. If your eighth notes are consistent, then it doesn't matter between 6/8 and 4/4. It will work. So, like, if you're coming out of I want to know what it feels like, our Father, all of heaven. So you can go from 6/8 into 4/4. The key there is not necessarily the time signature; it's the eighth, or the eighth note's going to match up. Let's see. Okay, here's an idea of some fast stuff that we've done, where the tempo has been the same, but we've been in totally different keys. So back to that tent revival I was telling you about earlier. We did Every Praise, and I don't. It's not one of my favorite songs, but I did it because I know a lot of people know it. And so we did Every Praise, and we start off in the key of D flat, right? But because we're starting off in the key of D flat, we end in E flat. Every praise to our God. wanted to open up the heavens in B flat. Because again, my eighths and my tempo is, you know, relatively similar. You know, I may have to make every praise a little bit faster, or make open up the heavens a little bit slower, but I can make them work. Bottom line is, it gave me an opportunity to not have to stop the click and start the next song, and we basically could just go from one song into the next. And then the last two examples that I'll share, and then Brother Hoffee, we'll get on to questions. Well, okay, I've already shared that we praise your name into Victor's crown. The last example then is something that we've done in the past, where we've went in from our God into awesome. And this is a great example to talk about, because we're talking about a song that, you know, is I'm not saying it's fast, but considering awesome, I mean, it is faster, and, you know, it has a little more energy to it. This is where, when it comes to transitions, your worship leader, if you're not the worship leader, where you need to rehearse these transitions with your worship leader. Because let's say you're coming out of the chorus, you know, and you're going, our God is greater, band's driving, our God is stronger, God, you are higher than any other, our God is healer, awesome in power, our God. No matter where you end that song, if you end it out of the bridge or out of that interlude or out of the chorus, you got to keep in mind, my next song is awesome. So I've got to get from this driving feel into. And one thing that I've noticed through the years, and one thing that we've tried to break here at Woodlawn, is taking our congregation on this roller coaster ride of praise and worship, where they don't see the curve coming until it's too late, and we've already given them a whiplash because we went from this fast into a slow without basically this warning that, okay guys, we're fixing to go from here to here now. And so this is a great example of where, and this is not the only example, but where you and your worship leader, or if you're the worship leader, you could do this, where the song could just sort of hold, could just sort of pause in the moment, and you could come back in sort of with tempo, but not that driving tempo of, our God is greater, our God is stronger. So the congregation feels, okay, they're slowing this train down a little bit. Our God is healer, awesome in power, our God, 1, 2, 3. Except don't hit that wrong note like I just did. So again, there's many examples, but if you know, a spoken word is great as long as the spoken word is strictly that and not a sneaker preach. You know, I'll encourage my singers, you know, hey, you know where we've come from, song A, you know where we're going, song B, and so if my worship leader for song B, or I'll have my worship leader for song B be prepared to basically bridge the gap between the two songs if needed. And I go back to what I said at the very beginning. If you're planning your sets on Saturday night, none of this is going to happen, okay? And I'm not trying to be like mean about it, but in order for transitions to work, sets need to be prayed over and planned way in advance so that what we're talking about tonight can happen, you know, from whatever day that is that the sets are planned and prayed over until when they happen in whatever given service that you're preparing for. I hope this has made sense.
It's been awesome. Incredible. I love everything you said, because it's such a couple things you said I want to bring out. And those of you that have questions, go ahead and jot them down right now, and I'll go ahead and get to those. one thing you said, Brother Justin, I thought was great, and you reiterated it there at the end, was basically, you know, about waiting. So my question is, what do you tell others? When do you choose your songs? When do you try to have your songs chosen for that given Sunday? Just to give people an example.
Sure. And this is a to each his own thing. For me, we have what's called a planning service meeting every Monday morning. I'm fortunate that I serve on a church that is made up of some full-time staff members, and I'm full-time as well. So I do have that going for me. And so Monday mornings, my songs are planned for the upcoming Wednesday night service and the following Sunday services. You know, some people, they work months in, you know, like a month in advance, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, to me, week to week is easier for me, unless we're in a series.
Yeah.
If we're in a series, that's different. Typically, I will have a key song per service that I plan around. And honestly, I would say that I plan my set, I think, like most preachers plan their or prepare for their sermons, where I will have my key song is my key point, if that makes sense. And then I will try to complement that key song with maybe some others. So, you know, I know this is a ludicrous example, but just to be obvious of what I'm talking about, I'm not going to sing "We Declare War" and follow up with "Peace Speaker." You know, so everything that I do is going to be, you know, if I feel the name of Jesus, or if that's what we're speaking about that day, you know, then I'm going to have a key song about the name of Jesus, but most likely I may do "In Jesus' Name," "When I Speak Your Name," "What a Beautiful Name," "There's No Other Name." I mean, you know, you catch my drift.
Right.
So, but typically Mondays is when that's done, and then that allows, and I'm not the only one that works on this, you know. Yeah. I've got other musicians that think these transitions through. I mentioned Lindsay earlier. Lindsay is on my team here, and she's incredible. She's actually incredible at mashups. And so a lot of times she's thinking through these things with me, and it just allows for us to be prepared for Sunday's rehearsals.
That's a good point you bring up, is don't be afraid to let people on your team, and your singers, in fact, it's a good thing that they feel a part of that decision making, because they have some great thoughts.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, I think I shared this earlier. I was gone Sunday, and because they know they have a seat at the table when it comes to ideas and the creative things, that it was really cool. You know, because for this Sunday they were intentional about even though I wasn't there, making sure that flow still happened, you know, in between a couple of the songs.
Justin, we have a question from Amy Singh. I'm going to let her ask a question. It's a very good question. Sister Amy, are you there?
I am.
Go ahead.
So we were thinking about one of the things that we need to work on is manipulating tempo. We typically go from a slow song to a medium or a fast song, or from a medium to a fast song at our church. We typically start slow and then move into fast. That's just our church responds better there. So where do you start when you're trying to learn how to better manipulate tempo going from slow to medium or to fast? Where do you start?
Well, that's a great question, and honestly, I'm on the other side of that, because we typically do the opposite of what you're saying. We actually start fast and end up going slow. But, however, what I would do, I think, is, and if you have maybe some examples of songs, then we could actually work through this. But one of the things that I would do is, and I'll just use this as an example, at the conference that we just hosted the other week, we came out of that William McDowell song that I was talking about, in which we merged the bridge of "Your Presence is Heaven." And out of that, I went into I had Chord Chavis here with me, and we went into his Heaven medley. So just hear me out. We went out of Your Presence is Heaven into the Heaven medley, and so literally we end with going. So I'm basically I take this song that's been just a worship song, you might say, and I just tell my band. Of course, I have what we call a MD mic or talkback mic, so I can talk to my band during the service. And so I say, guys, just start rumbling. And by rumbling, I'm just talking about. So I might would just hold this beautiful chord. And then a lot of times I will, when I know I'm getting ready to take the tempo up, and we're taking the intro or the next song is up, I don't do this elaborate big transition. Instead of, or basically what I do is just rumble. So I'm just holding this G flat, and finally I'll say E flat on my count, and I'll say like 1, 2, 3, and then my chords will go into that Pentecostal church. Because then I don't know if y'all can hear that. That may be really distorted. But basically what I've done is I've taken it from this. And I go. And then we're ready, for the next song. I will say it's easy to do that when you have Chord Chavis, who can verbally also transition. And so my point is, rumbling is great, but I think you also need that worship leader to help you transition, to help you take it from this moment of pure worship. And I hate to use worship and then praise, because then it seems like worship is slow and praise is fast, and that's not the case. So please understand me when I say it like that. But take it from this moment of worship into now a moment of rejoicing, wherever you're headed. But off the top of my head, just because we just did something like that a few weeks ago, yeah, I'm gonna rumble. I'm gonna rumble my way into my fast tempos.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, and that's a good point she brings up, because it can be tricky, but I think what you're saying is very true. It kind of need both things. You're going to need, and I like just a direct modulation like that. I think it's good just to go there like that, and a worship leader can really smooth that over very much. Yep. So in the mic. Yep. One other question I had for you, Brother Justin, was well, it wasn't a question. This is kind of a comment. I love what you said about a lot of times Sundays are not a lot about rehearsing the songs as much as they are really trying to think about rehearsing the transitions, because I think if you wait till service to try to think about that, you're probably in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and let's just be honest. If I've been here 16 years, and I remember, it's sad to say, but this is true. I remember showing up on Sunday mornings, thumbing through a song book, and that's how we chose our songs for that given service. And I know that's terrible to admit, but that's the way it was done before I got here, and that's the way we continued there for a while. But just think about it in terms of your team. If you're the music director or the worship leader, and you're in charge of picking out songs, if you're choosing songs at the last minute, not only is rehearsing transitions out, but your team, your singers haven't had an opportunity to pray the lyrics of the songs. Yeah. They haven't got the songs in them. I said it earlier, the band, they don't know what to prepare for. If you're into using loops and clicks and it's the drummer's responsibility, well, he or she, they're not prepared. Your guitar players are not prepared. So it's just you're not prepared. I don't know how many of you guys saw this, or have heard this from Mark Condon, but Mark Condon, it was a picture on Instagram, and the caption underneath it was, We don't rehearse so everything can be perfect. We rehearse so we are never a distraction to the presence of God.
Definitely.
And I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point of about being prepared, is so that we're not a distraction. And so with that being said, and with our topic tonight,
yeah,
the more in advance you're prepared, then yes, you can rehearse your transitions. You definitely don't want transitions to be a distraction. I mean, you know, and so they have to be rehearsed. So, you know, even if it's a simple thing as your auxiliary keyboard player holding a pad sound, and you're thinking, well, why do we have to rehearse that? I'll just tell them to hold a pad sound. Well, what you've got to also consider is, then how is the band going to fade out of song 1 and then come back in on song 2? You don't want your guitar player to fade while your bass player is still holding, and your keyboard. You know what I'm saying is, you want the fade of the whole band to be like this. You want it to come down together as a team. And I mean, unless you've got hired musicians, chances are that that's stuff that's going to have to be rehearsed until, you know, over and over until your team gets it.
There's another question, Justin, that I wanted to get to you, and I'll just read it to you real quick because we're running out of time. But they said, we're doing Here I Am to Worship on Sunday and thinking of a way to transition into I'm a Friend of God. Would you link the bridges of those songs, or from the chorus to the bridge, a Friend of God? So any thoughts on that? So they're doing Here I Am to Worship, thinking of a way to transition to a Friend of God.
Okay. Did they say what keys? Or can they tell me what keys? Okay. I'm assuming, I'm just going to use the keys we do them in.
Okay.
So normally we would do...
Key of E.
Okay, yeah, okay. I was going to say, normally we do Here I Am to Worship in F and then Friend of God in E. So the first thing I'm going to do is manipulate one of the songs so that both songs are in the same key. Okay. And with that being said, yeah, I'm going to probably do Here I Am to Worship in E. You know...
Put you on the spot, I know.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say, and I'm not trying to cop out of this, a lot of this is a feel thing. You know, what am I feeling in the spirit? You know, a lot of times I will come in this very room that I'm in right now through the week, and I will play through my songs, and that's when, and pray through my songs, and that's when I actually start getting the feel of how I want to get out of song 1 into song 2. So if you come out of that bridge, and I'll never know how much it see my sin up on that cross. I could see where I'll never know how much. You know, you may have to manipulate the tempo. Sin up on that cross. 1, 2, 3. Who am I that you are mindful of me? That you hear me. It can be done. Yeah, it can be done. But that's a great example where that has to be rehearsed. You know, your team has to feel that tempo change. It's not so much a key change as it is a tempo change. And you want the team to be in the same groove as you as the tempo change. So just to go back over that, so I could see, I'll never know how much you see my sin. When you sing up on that, and you hold that A for if that's the chord you're holding, on that cross, I would let that be my tempo change. On that cross, 1, 2, 3, and who am I that you are mindful of me?
Yeah, and if you're using loops, that's a great way to kick that off right there on that A chord, on that 4.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. They one last thing that someone mentioned here which might be even a little bit trickier, but the example of another set coming up, they're wanting to go from Nothing But the Blood off the UPCI album into You Are Jehovah. So that is a different transition there, because you're going from quite a slower song, but you could do it.
What key is Nothing But the Blood in?
C.
C? That's the way, where can I show it? Where you made me up? Nothing but the blood. Is that,
Yep. That's it.
Jesus. And You Are Jehovah. What key is that?
I usually do it in F, but so you could go straight from that C, that being the 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, if that's the case, and again, you know, the obvious thing is tempo, the tempo change. But key-wise, that's not a problem because you could do a 4/5 or B flat over C. So, I don't know if I'm right on my tempo. You know what? I don't know. Yeah, you could go back to the C. 1, 2, 3, 4. You are Jehovah, and I worship you. And you know what? That's not that far off.
If you're Sister Amy, if you're doing that in C and F, that's an easy transition. That's what Brother Justin is saying, because your C is your 5, of course. So
yeah.
The other
thing I was sitting there thinking too is you could go nothing but the blood. I don't know if this would work, but it hit me. Nothing but the blood. Nothing but the blood. 1, 2, 3, 4. You are Jehovah. You are Jehovah, and I worship you. And I worship you. So that's an.
And to be honest, I mean, a lot of things can be done. I know you would feel the same way if you really get creative and think about how we can go from song to song. But you got to do it throughout the week and not Sunday morning. So, well, this has been wonderful. I know we went a little longer tonight, everybody, but thank you for being here. This was good stuff, and I'm so glad, Brother Justin, that you showed those examples, because one thing I took away from this was those eighth notes being one of the critical factors. You know, when you started counting that out, that's very important, because that's your telltale sign. And of course, you know, staying in the same key always is nice because you can mash up pretty easily. But everybody that's here tonight, thank you for joining. These are wonderful. I'm so glad you're starting to log in and take advantage of this as a member, because, you know, Brother Justin, different guests that we have, this is so cool to glean from their experiences, and it's just helping all of us. So we're excited. Thank you for being here tonight. This will be archived on our website. Brother Justin, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
And you just bring a ton. I love your spirit. I love the fact that you're in this for the right reasons. You wouldn't have lasted this long if you weren't. So you represent what we're trying to become, and very well. And I'm so thankful to have you as a friend, and you do a great job and great example tonight. So everyone that was here tonight, thank you. I hope you learned tonight. Next month we'll do it again, and we'll have another guest on in July. And I know we're getting close to Youth Congress, which will be crazy, but we're still going to do it. And so, Brother Justin, have a wonderful night. Thank you, all you guests. Is there anything last you want to say in closing?
No, I'll give you my email address. I don't know if that's proper. I guess now that I've said it, it is. But if you've got any other questions or want to hit me up with some suggestions, it's Justin at Woodlawn Church. That's WOODLAWN church.cc. Justin at woodlawnchurch.cc.
Perfect. And yeah, I mean, that's wonderful. If you guys have that question and he's willing to do that, that's awesome. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful night.